Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are unpacking the mind of a guy who literally needs absolutely no introduction if you follow sports, Virat Kohli. He just recently wrapped up an absolutely historic 14-year Test cricket career, and when you look back at his massive legacy, it becomes pretty clear, pretty fast, that his journey is about so much more than just hitting a ball with a bat. So we're going to use the data, the interviews, and some incredibly raw accounts from his career to build a real case study here. A case study in human resilience, extreme fitness, and just sheer mental grit.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Just listen to this combative, hyper-confident mindset from an interview he did back in 2021. He explicitly says that if you show any vulnerability at this level, people will just eat you up. For years, he walked onto the field projecting this absolute, unbreakable invincibility. He practically demanded that bowlers bring their absolute best because he was just going to stand there all day. I mean, it is quite literally the mindset of a king.
But then, you hear this. This is a shockingly raw confession from a Royal Challengers Bangalore podcast. He's talking about the infamous 2014 England tour here. The same man who projected absolute invincibility was walking out to the crease and his legs were physically shaking with fear. And this contrast right here, this is the entire core theme of our explainer today. We are going to explore this massive iceberg of hidden, agonizing struggles that lived right beneath the surface of his phenomenal greatness.
Section 1. The ultimate competitor. Let's see what made him so dangerous on the pitch.
5,388. Take a second to process that. That is the staggering number of runs Virat Kohli scored in successful ODI chases alone. And he did it at an average of 96.21. Almost half of his total runs in successful chases came exactly when his team needed them the absolute most. It's crazy numbers like this that earned him the undisputed heavyweight title of the Chase Master.
So how on earth does he actually achieve those numbers? Well, he basically takes the abstract, totally suffocating pressure of a run chase and turns it into a highly actionable, step-by-step mental process. First, he visualizes the game intensely. He literally pictures himself taking on the fielders and bowlers until he feels sharp. Second, if the opposition tries to sledge him or get in his head, he just flips it and uses it as pure motivation. And third, he walks out there with the simple, unshakable belief that he's going to stay not out and win the game. It is a masterclass in controlled focus. And, that level of focus earned immense respect from his peers. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma points out a truly phenomenal fact. Kohli almost never had to set foot in the National Cricket Academy for injury rehab throughout his incredibly vast career. Rohit urges young players to learn from this hunger. It's an internal drive that, honestly, you simply cannot teach.
Section 2. The fitness revolution. Because you don't get those stats without changing your body.
So pre-2012, Kohli openly admits he had some pretty bad habits. We're talking late nights, unhealthy eating, casual drinking. But after one specific IPL season, he looked in the mirror and basically realized he wasn't respecting his sport. So he flipped the script entirely. He dropped 11 to 12 kilos. He completely cut out gluten, wheat, and desserts. And here's the wild part. This micro-level diet shift in one single man ended up revolutionizing the macro-level fitness culture of the entire Indian cricket team. It turned them into an absolute force against physically imposing nations like Australia and England.
And the transformation compounded so quickly. In 2015, he partnered up with strength coach Shankar Basu. And Basu noted something really interesting. He said Kohli wanted to train not just like a standard cricketer, but like an Olympic athlete. He was drawing comparisons to guys like Usain Bolt and Cristiano Ronaldo. He brought in heavy compound lifts like snatches and deadlifts, and the direct translation to his performance? Unbelievable. Between 2016 and 2019, he scored 7 double centuries in Test cricket. 7. He was just so meticulous about all of it. He used high-altitude masks to build up his lung capacity and all these tech gadgets for core strength. His diet was incredibly structured around high protein, eggs, smoked salmon, spinach. But hey, fitness isn't just about living in a prison of restriction. He definitely found some balance. His famous cheat meal? Ram's Chole Bhature in Delhi. But because of his discipline, you better believe he made absolutely sure to burn every single one of those extra calories off the very next day.
Section 3. The weight of leadership. Let's look below the surface here. So, I have a question for you. What happens when the ultimate competitor actually runs out of gas? Think about it. When your entire identity is built on carrying the team, protecting them from outside noise, and absorbing all of the pressure,
What happens when that tank finally hits zero?
Well, he answered this with some really raw honesty. He admitted that managing the team's insecurities, trying to juggle his own batting form with intense leadership duties, and constantly acting as a shield for the change room, it completely consumed him. By the time he stepped down from captaincy, he was totally spent. He took all the hits so his team could grow, but eventually the immense, crushing weight of playing both roles just became way too much.
And speaking right before the 2025 IPL, Kohli pointed out a massive irony about all of this. Earlier in his career, everyone criticized his aggression, but more recently, when he mellowed out a bit, people started complaining about his calmness. And when controversies did pop up, like that recent Border Gavaskar Trophy shoulder charge, he realized a hard truth. You simply cannot please everyone. No way. You have to rely entirely on your inner drive, not the ever-changing noise of the crowd.
Section 4. Battling imposter syndrome.
Now, imposter syndrome is that persistent, nagging feeling that you just aren't good enough and that your success is somehow a mistake. And Kohli admitted that even after 20 decades at the highest possible level of the sport, he still felt this. He confessed that during regular simple net sessions, he'd worry that if he had a bad practice, the younger players watching might actually think, wait, is this really the guy who's been playing for 20 years? He was living on a razor-thin edge between trying to be cautious and feeling totally, utterly insecure.
And this self-doubt really culminated during that 2014 England tour, which he describes as his absolute toughest phase. He woke up every single day knowing, not just thinking, but actively knowing he was going to fail. Just imagine that mental torture for a second. Knowing that in exactly 3 hours, you have to walk out in front of millions of people, and your brain is just screaming at you that you cannot perform. But your competitive voice is forcing you to go out and try anyway.
So how do you break out of a spiral like that? Well, through one of the most incredible sports anecdotes you'll ever hear. During a subsequent ODI series, with his legs literally shaking as he walked out to the crease, he made a crazy promise to himself. He decided he was going to try and hit every single ball out of the ground. And guess what? He got out for 0. He failed spectacularly. But mentally, actually, scratch that. It wasn't just a failure. Mentally, taking that desperate wild chance broke the shackles of his fear. Failing on purpose was the exact thing that finally freed his mind.
And thankfully, by 2023, he really found his footing again. This was largely because he found a safe, nurturing environment with coaches like Rahul Dravid and Vikram Rathore. They deeply understood his mental fatigue. They took care of him mentally, and that solid support system allowed him to finally just enjoy playing cricket again.
Section 5, the power of resilience. Let's bring this all together. First off, let's just admire the ultimate reward of that incredible resilience. As he concludes his 14-year Test career, these monumental stats stand as a permanent testament to not giving up. 123 matches, over 9,200 runs. It is a legacy completely cemented in history, right alongside leading India to historic wins, like that unforgettable first Test series victory in Australia. You see, his greatest life lesson isn't about how to play a perfect cover drive. It's about sheer, undeniable grit. He never promised that he wouldn't fail, but he did promise that every single time he hit rock bottom, he would do the brutal, unglamorous, behind-the-scenes work to stand back up stronger than he was before. So as we wrap up this explainer, here are the core takeaways you can actually use. Number 1, physical reinvention isn't just a one-time event. It's a daily, disciplined choice. Number 2, accept your vulnerability. Remember, even your biggest heroes literally shake with fear sometimes. Number 3, focus on the internal process and tune out the fleeting noise of public opinion. And number 4, failure, even getting out for 0, is very often just the necessary setup to break your mental shackles and make a massive comeback. I really want to leave you with this thought today. In your own life, your career, your personal goals, you are eventually going to face your own 2014 England tour. When you inevitably hit rock bottom and your legs start shaking with imposter syndrome, how will you choose to walk out to the crease? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive today, and keep learning. Welcome to